Fire maps sound good. Bring them up.
All right. So let me get to. All right, and all right. Assuming it's showing up all right. It's a little weird because I can't see actually what my screen, what I'm actually sharing, but assuming that you can see the fancy map uh, of Oregon here. So this is the National Wildfire Coordination Group's situation map. So that's the nwcg.gov for those that want to look it up on their own. So a couple of things you'll notice are you've got these red outlines. So those are the fire perimeters, which are updated once or twice a day, depending on the incident team and new information that they get. So if we, and then each one is going to have a little like fire thing symbol that will have the name of the fire. You got the perimeter. You click on it, it's got a whole bunch of information. And then usually there is somewhere on here some information about the incident that doesn't have a whole lot of extra stuff on it. So this is here's the Riverside fire. So that's the one that was threatening like Estacada and Molalla in Clackamas County. So down here we've got the Beachy Creek fire / Sanium fire, depending on which iteration the naming you refer to. So Detroit Lake is down here. So Scotts Mills, Silverton. So for those that are not familiar with this neck of the woods, so you've got Salem proper here, Highway 22, Staten. So my house is over kind of here to the west of Staten. And then we have the sleepy town called Lyons, which Lyons / Mahama, depending on which side of the river you're on. The nursery that I work for, our main production facility is over here. So you can see the fire line came up and into basically the middle of town into Mahama here, up to the river. From my understanding, most of the Lion side is in pretty good shape. The Mill City, the town of Gates, that Bill's daughter's hosting some refugees from there. Detroit, and if you've seen some of the pictures from Detroit, there's and especially if you're familiar with what the town looked like before the fire, it's a wasteland. And then there's a lot of talk on the media and stuff about North Fork Road with this fire. So that there's a community called Elkhorn that is kind of up in this valley just north of the Sanium Canyon, and North Fork Road is the access into that, and that's where 3 of the fatalities in the Beachy Creek fire occurred along this road in the community up here. And from my understanding, most of this is pretty well decimated. And then to the east is, and actually, and there's a fancy term for it, and I don't remember what it is off my head, about when one fire basically burns back to a different fire. And that happened around Detroit for the Lion's Head fire here. And so one of the neat things to look at, so these yellow, orange, and red dots. So those are infrared pings from, there's 2 different satellites that monitor this. And so these are infrared pings that got hot enough to actually uh, register from space. And the red dot indicates a fire detection in the last 12 hours, orange in the previous 24, and yellow in the previous 48. So it gives you a pretty good idea of where stuff is actively burning and where the real fire activity's been. So you can kind of see there's all this activity here that's kind of cooled down with a couple of hot spots. And then there's some fresh activity down kind of on the southern edge here. And then for a little perspective, the kind of open pocket here, that's Mount Jefferson. So a good chunk of that will not be burnable unless somebody manages to burn rock. And then going down, so the Holiday Farm fire, as mentioned before, here, Eugene Springfield, coming down Mackenzie Highway 126. Looks like most of the, so one thing to keep in mind is with the infrared stuff, you can get enough smoke to actually block the infrared detection from space. So most of the stuff, most of the time you'll see the dots along the perimeter, and then the stuff in the interior of the fire is harder to detect because it's usually covered with smoke. So that's the Holiday Farm. The Archie Creek fire, threatening, Sutherland, Yoncalla, Glide area. Looks like there's a relatively fresh ping there. Some of the other fires down, so the South Open Chain fire here outside Medford. There's this one, the Slater fire that crossed in and transplanted into Southern Oregon from California. The Devil fire down there. What was the other? This is the big one over the Woodhead fire over in western Idaho here. That one has been causing a lot of problems over on that side. If you zoom out, kind of get a good idea of, so for a little perspective, when the map lags like that, the computer that's running this is a 8-core, pretty beefy processor, plenty of RAM, plenty of hard drive, plenty of very fast hard drive, and 100 megabit internet connection. So when that lags, there's a lot of stuff trying to load. So when they talked about like the whole West Coast being on fire, they weren't exaggerating too much. I mean, that's kind of the scene there just from the fire detection side. So yeah, lots of fire. And then the other thing that if you pull up InstaWeb,
Pardon me.
so one of the neat things here is that each of these fires, once they get big enough to actually be noticeable, there will be a whole, basically a whole blog devoted to that fire and the activity on that fire. So Beachy Creek, which is again the one that has hit pretty close to home, almost not figuratively. Kind of, so it has the whole list here, who's in charge, what's going on, So we got crews from Canada have come down to help fight the fire. And then a whole kind of rundown on statistics. So there's currently 830 personnel engaged with the fire, the type of fuels. Currently, it's full containment estimated for the end of October, which happens to coincide when we usually get enough rain to make fire not an issue. And then just some kind of updates on what's been done, what the plan is. So mostly at this point, it's mop up and kind of a issue, kind of rundown of weather issues. So that's currently a lot of what got started was weather issues in wind direction that pushed this fire from what was 400 and some acres into about 140,000 acres overnight. So a lot of interesting information to keep an eye out because that's been for about a week or so. I had basically both of those pages up on every device that I owned constantly to keep apprised of what was going on. That's about all I've got for that stuff. So if anybody has any questions or comments or anything. All right. Well, that's about all I've got. So turn it back. Anything else for the good of the order before we adjourn? All right. Hearing none. We'll go ahead and
I'd like to say one thing.
oh, go ahead, Andy.
My wife and I have been getting concerns from all over the world. My wife happens to be quite active in the international community, and the news has been all over the world. I'm talking about Europe and Asia. People have been asking my wife, how are we doing? What's the situation here? They've been watching the news. So this has been the world has been watching what's been going on here on the West Coast. I just thought I'd toss that info out. That's all.
A lot of our smoke is spread over to Europe and Africa too. It blew over, continental United States blew over the Atlantic and southward. And I was told Europe had, from friends in Europe, they got our smoke and spread down south to Africa. I don't know how thick it was. I don't think it was very thick, but it was noticeable for sure.
Yeah, so I've got a good chunk of my family lives in, well, a lot of my family lives here kind of in the Staten area. I have an aunt and uncle and their two youngest kids live, actually they were level 3 evacuated, and fields very, very close to their house were on fire. A lot of that was intentionally set to build a perimeter, but they just got back into their house last weekend. So, and I've got other family up actually in the Oregon City, Estacada area. So my grandfather lives in LA and east of LA, and so he's well accustomed to forest fires in the mountains and smoke and everything. And so I sent him a picture of what it looked like out the door one Tuesday morning, and he's like, I don't think it's ever been that bad.
Yeah.
It's like, usually we can at least see the, it's hazy, but we can still see something that resembles light, not the pitch black red glow that we had all day Tuesday and a good chunk of Wednesday. That was a very, very eerie just feeling. And then from there, and then on like Wednesday, my aunt and uncle up in Oregon City were evacuated. And so my grandfather and my one aunt down in the LA area were getting pretty excited when everybody up here was couldn't see the sun and getting evacuated and everything. That it's like, man, that's not supposed to happen up there. So yeah, it's been interesting. Like I said, I've spent a lot of time on the phone at work with customers of ours that have been concerned and want to make sure that they can still get their plants in the spring when they were hoping. And been a lot of stuff. Know a lot of the fire crews and everything that were up there and have been up there fighting fires. So it's been a very interesting 2 weeks, and it'll be very, very interesting to see how stuff gets wrapped up here. I know they had there was a big effort to try and coordinate because there's still a bunch of so usually a lot of people will go up spend Labor Day weekend on Detroit Lake. A lot of people end up so there's quite a few people that will try and get their boats out the Monday. I know a couple people that actually were like, let's not try and deal with all the people trying to pull their boats out on Monday, and let's just call it early and pull out Sunday afternoon. So a couple of people got their boats down in the valley Sunday afternoon. But now there's a lot of people they'll leave them up there. So they'll party all Labor Day weekend, and then they'll usually the weekend after they'll go back up and pull their boats out and put them away. And so now there's still a whole bunch of boats up there that it sounds like they've been trying to coordinate to get, just to be able to get people up to Detroit in order to get to the docks and the takeouts and pull them out has been a challenge. Don't know if anybody saw, but ODOT estimates that there are like 10,000 trees that are hazardous along the highway on 22 that have to be removed in order to have the passage safe for travel, on top of trying to fix and secure hillsides and everything. So yeah, it's gonna be a lot of work. I had planned to do a little backpacking trip with with my sister's boyfriend and his brothers here. Would have been last weekend, south of Jefferson, and that's probably going to happen sometime next year now because it'll probably be closed until then. And hopefully that fire up there stays where it's at and doesn't come too much further south. The other one that from what I've been hearing, at least from the fire maps and everything, those familiar with Olali Lake and the kind of little resort up there, which really, really cool place. It's just a royal pain in the butt to get there. And I do mean that in a very real sense. It's like 12 miles of very, very well pitted gravel road that will bounce the ever-living everything out of the most suspension vehicle you can find. But that is in the thick of one of the fire areas, and it looks like it's probably a bunch of smoldering ash right now. So yeah, will be very, very, neat to see what's left. And there are just a couple of, so our thing, that incident NCWeb thing, there's one of the tabs is photographs. And so they had a bunch of stuff that a bunch of the aerial photographs that they were actually they're bringing in. So that's kind of neat to check out. Just seeing some of those. I haven't seen very many high level yet, so it's kind of hard to get a really good bearing off of most of them, where they're coming from. But a lot of scorched timber, at least, and that's just in that one fire out of many in the area.
How's your air quality over there?
Right now, fairly good. I think we're down. I think we're down in the yeah, we're good. AQI of 34. But yeah, that was. I never checked what the readings were Tuesday. That wasn't really a concern of how bad it was until later in the week, because quite frankly, when you can't see the sun at all, you know the air is bad. And then which wasn't a, so that was the scale that I was working off of until I think for about a week. I think it was like Monday or Tuesday last week that it finally thinned out enough that you could see the ball of the sun. And at that point, it was still like 600 or 700 on the scale.
So my wife was checking out the AQI at that time, and we evidently broke the scale. It was in the 700 to 800s.
Yeah,
Doesn't go up that high.
yeah. The index for so hazardous is from 300 to 500, and then they say that anything beyond 500 is beyond index. And I know we had several of the sensors nearby that were just reading 999.
Yeah, I spent a month over in India and had a couple of days that were bad. And I'm like, oh, India was horrible. India was horrible. And my wife looked it up and she's like, India wasn't that bad. Yeah.
Yep.
I remember as soon as it got down under 100 around here, I'm like, oh, it's great. I might go out for a walk. I'm like, no, we'll wait.
7 Oscar.
Go ahead.
So I'm up in Tigard. Highest I saw was a high side of 400. Yesterday was 20, and it's like, oh yeah, it's past. Today I was out running errands on 217, and it's like, it's hazy again. And checked the AQI when I got home, and yeah, it was back up to 70. So it's just whichever direction the wind is blowing here now. You go back and look at the containment numbers, and it's like, yeah, these fires are nowhere near out. They may be slowing down, but at least with that huge windstorm past, it's moving slower, but it's not done yet by any means. Yep,
and that's so the Beachy Creek fire is listed at 38% contained. There's still a lot of stuff burning up there. So I mean that's that rain we had on Thursday and Friday helped a lot. And then this next rainstorm coming in middle of this week is well needed, as long as it doesn't wash everything down the mountain, which is the other concern right now. But it's going to be. I mean, all the fires take a while to put out, and I mean, if you actually looked up the Eagle Creek fire there, that was up in Hood River, I remember checking. Randomly, I was looking at trying to show somebody at work the incident web where they actually list all the large fires in the West Coast. Show them that in February after that fire, and the daily update in middle of February was there's still a few hot spots that we're monitoring we're pretty sure they're not going to spread in Hood River or outside Hood River in February, but there's still stuff burning in February. So I don't think this is quite at that scale yet, but it's close.
You know, one thing, Anthony, I noticed when you zoomed out and you showed the entire United States on the fire map, there were a lot of fires in the Midwest, Southeast, and in the Appalachians and so forth. And we don't hear much about those. You know, it's just all about what's going on the West Coast. But it seemed like there's a heck of a lot of fire going on out there too.
Yeah, so there's some stuff in like the Midwest that they still do a lot of field burning. So there's a lot of that's also grassland. So quite a bit of that's actually intentional burning, at least in the Midwest, Texas, up through Kansas, Nebraska area. But yeah, there are a lot of fires on the East Coast too that are, none of them are anywhere near as big and as pervasive as the ones we have out here, but there's a good chunk of the country's on fire.
Yeah, to say the least.
What was that IR map again? What's the URL?
So nwcg.gov.
Let me see. Well, very good. Thanks for showing us all that and explaining everything.
Yeah.
We got a ways to go.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for sticking around, and
So I'll if Mike's okay with it, I can do my presentation either next month or I'll dovetail it into something he may want to present. You know, he's out of town this month. That's why I was able to get a chance to do something. But again, I apologize. I just wasn't able to put it together the way I wanted to in time. So, but by next month, I'll have something, and we'll see. I'll talk to Mike about how he wants to do it.
all right. Yeah.
Not then, maybe November. All right.
I'm sure he will won't have any qualms with having another month off.
Okay. Yeah.
I just put another link on the chat for air quality and the fires. You can get it throughout the United States, or you can just zoom right down into the area. It's fire.airnow.gov.
Fire.
Hey, Anthony, one last bit of business. Seven Oscar here.
Yeah, go ahead.
I've actually been a member of the club for several years, but don't get to the meetings very often. So wanted to toss in an idea. Chris mentioned friend of the club, Jim, and last name's already gotten away from me.
Silky.
Silky, that's right. Would it be appropriate for the club to send condolences on club stationery, club letterhead?
I think so. Yeah, that's
I kick in $50 for some flowers.
I think we can arrange that. I'll talk to. Well, I guess Andy's here. He's kind of coordinated the purchase of condolence cards and stuff in the past. So.
All
Yeah,
right, thank you.
any decision you make, we can support.
I'll second the motion if it helps.
Sounds like a very good idea.
Yep. So I'll shoot an email out to the board here in a little bit, and we'll get something rolling for that.
You get just pick an individual to take care of that, and we'll handle the bill.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks again, Anthony, and everybody.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for coming out, and we'll catch you. Should be the same meeting information for next month.
Alrighty.
These Zoom meetings are nice, I think, because we get a chance to get a lot of these other people like Benton and all to come in, and Tyler that never get a chance to make the physical meetings. So
Yeah.
get a chance to see new faces. It's good, at least for me anyway.
Yeah, no, when we do get back in person, I'd love to keep these going.
Yeah, no, we can do maybe a mix. Be a good
Yep.
idea. All right, guys, I'm gonna have to cut out. So
Good night, all.
I'll have something for you next month, and And yeah, keep up, stay safe and all that. And thanks again, Anthony.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for coming out.
All right.
Cheers.
Mhm.